Hello again. So, following up from the last video, doesn't look like we actually got a great deal of gameplay done whilst I was waffling. So I'm going to try and get some done this turn by pressing play before anything else. Yeah, I guess there was someone over here. In terms of the situation, 7 Platoon's still working its way up towards the northern compound. We've just taken the centre compound. Trying to capture this guy here. He probably won't surrender until we take out this. But in terms of the route we were looking at for the northern compound. Oh dear. Not good at all. So in terms of the route we were looking at, pushing across through the field, passing this ambush into the north of the northern compound. It looks like the GMG, they've rearmed and they're engaging the ambush that was up here. We've had a nasty bit of a casualty incident over here. So now we kind of need to... We are going to have to deal with this. So I'll start doing that. Just make sure the rest looks okay. So, how do you tackle this problem? So previously, so I recall we've still got enemy here. We now know we've got an enemy here. GMG's happily working on these ambush points. One section was going to push around this direction. It is whether we want to use them until clearing this. Are these guys heading downstairs? Or are they trying to do some Kazakhstan? So you can blast in here, but I believe they're looking this way. It won't take a great... Get off the roof, lads. It won't take a great deal to... Ooh. Won't take a great deal to... It's whether we can loop all the way around, blast in and come round behind them. That might be the best option. To get a little blast team here. I think I'll get the one section to come over. Probably should check on the GPMG. So I know that, yeah, they are probably about time to rearm. Don't really like doing that, but may have to. Get that going again, because don't really want friendly fire. Javelin, was there a vehicle for the javelins? So I might rearm it, get down, pick up a few more javelins. Okay, then we're going to have to fire and manoeuvre to here, I reckon. To be honest, they can just grab. They just grab the lot. join their section. And back up there. Deploy the weapon. Grab some javelins. I think it's something like that now. I'm trying to get this right. So, I basically want to blast like that. That's a case of whether that's got their attention and they're facing this way now or not, I don't know. But this is a dangerous point for one section, really. To ground. So the problem with the hunt order is they were cautiously clearing this field, but only 2 guys got in. And the rest sort of sat outside the mouse hole. So they're surrendering. These guys can go Kazovac. Little bit strung out, so platoon commander's aware of these 2 sections, no contact with this section, the engineers. And then these aren't going to surrender now because these are here, I imagine. Do want to call for fires. I suppose whilst we let this firefight play out, I was going to talk about some other thoughts I had on this, I suppose. And one of the big things I was thinking was, well, 2 things, Kazovac and rules of engagement. And in terms of, they've grabbed them, haven't they? Yeah. In terms of the Kazovac, so I think we're now on our 4th casualty. And it looks like this one's actually death. Fourth casualty currently. And the way combat mechanics work isn't too bad, but it is combat mission mechanics. So you just stay in the area for a bit, like these guys. They come over, they do their medic stuff, and then they vanish. And I suppose part of it'd be a very difficult game to play, but the reality and what actually happened during this day, well, I believe they took a casualty around Compound 1. And they had to Kazovac back to Hajilem for evacuation. And there's a whole story in, so I think there's a chapter in the Dead Men Risen book. There's I think I previously mentioned Our War, so they have a section or an entire episode based on this event, and that doesn't really come across in this. So, like I say, they've now completed their Kazovac, and they just magically vanish. So I suppose that's one thing to consider, how difficult this is, and the reality. Would we be pressing forward in real life onto the next objective, or would that Kazovac cause us to Kazovac back to Agilem? And even then, within the Kazovac itself, you can't really put that into the game, because with a Kazovac, if it's a fireman carry, you've lost the wounded person and the person carrying them. If it's a stretcher, you've at least got 2 guys on a stretcher, so that's 2 less guns in your firefight. If it's like a poncho, with like a guy on each corner, again that's 4 guys plus the casualty itself. And you start to see, as best representation as you can with combat mission, Kazovac is certainly in a guerrilla war like this, instead of, say, the actual war fighting of Normandy or Cold War games, all those different games. I suppose they're more geared around war fighting, and the complexity of like a Kazovac here is difficult to represent. I think the actual scenario designer mentions as much. These guys aren't going to surrender because these guys are here now. So I'll think about how to deploy these. The other thing I was going to say is the rules of engagement. That's another funny oddity of this. So, in terms of what I've had, I've not had anybody give target orders. So I've never gone fire there type of thing. I've allowed TAC AI to handle it, and that's in a sense that's effectively card alpha engagement. So card alpha is it's normally seen as self-defense, and people believe that's like fire when fired upon. It isn't necessarily. It's a bit more to it than that, in terms of if you feel that to not fire on somebody would risk life, then that in itself justifies a card alpha engagement. But this is all, I could waffle a bit about that. I suppose the other stuff around this time was 429 engagements. So that's war fighting. That's the kind of stuff where you have preparatory fires, with whether it be airstrikes or artillery, before like a full-blown operation, a bit of war fighting. And then what you might be covering in this a little bit is 421. So that is PID, positive identification of an enemy, and they're showing hostile intent. They're armed, but they're not at that moment engaged with you. So this guy here, he's sat there. He is clearly Taliban. He's clearly armed. He's not engaging us. But I suppose you can say under 421 you can engage. That's what we've been doing effectively with this and this. You can say the javelin positively IDs a hostile target. They're not currently engaging 7 Platoon. That doesn't stop us engaging them. Same with most of what the mortar's done. As you've had enemy coming in, clearly showing hostile intent, they're coming to wrap us up, basically. That is like a 4-2-1 engagement almost, to engage them before it comes to that. Right, I've waffled a lot. I need to actually look at this and figure out how to move off, because we're not going to get this guy until we clear this now. And I don't think that's an easy task. But you might you might be able to do the same thing coming around the back, but we do know there's been enemy around here. So it's just how sketchy that is. And what I don't want to do, so these guys move up to the roof, they took a casualty. Don't really want one section to come up to the roof and have, I believe there's 2 fire points here that we'll probably get engaged by. Right. So. Sort that out a tiny bit. Right. I think we need to start thinking about moving up to here.
Hello, round complete. End of mission, out.
So what's that look like now? Empty. Well done. Okay, so the next support we're really going to have is the Apache when it comes on station. I think they were an hour out at the start. Roughly. When they're due on station, uncertain, but just check on everybody. So they're in a bit of an awkward position. I might, because I'm wary of this, I might make a little mouse hole just for safety. Yeah, might make a mouse hole, I think. For what it's worth, because they've just gone round that way, but okay. So what's going on back here? What I'll probably do is get these on a short arc. I don't really want them firing off javelins like that, but they have an excellent thermal optic. So I'm happy for them to help the snipers. Oh, Apache has arrived. Just in time. So, now it's a question of whether we let the Apache engage targets of opportunity, or if we want to call in direct strikes. So the Apache to target something specifically here. And then let's have a look at what they've actually got. 2 Apaches. So we've got cannon, Hellfire, and then I believe that's rockets. I've never been a fan of rockets, certainly not in a game like this. But the 30mm cannon, that'll be good. And the Hellfire, that'll also be good. It's now whether, so we've hit the 20-minute point, it's whether we give it a bit more gameplay or a bit of planning before the next video. Can't just let this happen. Should really be trying to find a way to handle this. Tell you what, for my own sanity, I'm gonna save and plan in the next one. So catch you in the next one.